This episode of Digital Photography Cafe is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe. I'm Trevor Current, your digital marketing guy.
And I'm Joseph Christina, your professional photographer.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us as we chat about the art and business of photography.
So hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Last week we talked about Apple's stock taking a dive, iPhone versus Android dilemma, and business lessons learned from Ivory Soap. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher and TuneIn radio app, and now watch us in HD TV through TiVo.
So Joe, we are back, episode 81. How's everything going?
We're good. We're good over here. 81. Nice.
So we got a little news this week, right?
Yeah,
the
a little bit of
Samsung
news.
Galaxy camera, but the 4G looks
right?
Interesting.
Very, very interesting. You know, I saw this going into AT&T. Very, very cool camera being sold now in a wireless phone company store, which is kind of crazy. We talked about something like this coming soon, but this was like months and months back. We said, what will happen once, the phones are no longer just phones, they're cameras, but now cameras start turning into something more than just cameras. And that's basically what has just happened with the new Samsung. It is basically a high-end Android device, which is running Jelly Bean, the latest operating system. So it's a true Android platform in a camera. Amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think we were talking about it. It was a while ago. I think one of the cameras that came out that had built-in Wi-Fi, and I think we had commented saying, really, it's only a matter of time before these cameras get data networks attached to them, mobile networks, 3G, 4G, LTE. And sure enough, I mean, what was it, a couple months later,
Right. Yeah. So instead of it being like something that's just, accidentally happened and you stuck it into the camera, or some type of attachment that costs you $300, $400, $500, $600, like a Wi-Fi attachment or whatnot. Now we actually have a purpose-built camera to be, I guess you would say like a social media, just a machine, so you'd be able to take video as well as stills and directly send them right up into the cloud through Dropbox or through what have you, either through Wi-Fi, let's say if you're on a local Wi-Fi network, or through 3G or 4G LTE. I know the LTE that we're getting down here in South Florida in my area is just sick. I mean, it's like 5 times the speed of my DSL, my DSL connection here. So
I know. It's funny because we downloaded that speed test app for the phone, and now I'm like obsessed with it. Whenever I'm out and I see a Wi-Fi connection, I'm like, "Ooh, I got to connect and see how fast we're going and stuff." So I found that like my local McDonald's, Friendly's, the Lowe's, and Home Depot, I mean, all these places have free Wi-Fi, which is really cool. And I run speed test on them, and they're good. I mean, it's comparable to like what I'm getting here at the office. Probably 8 to 10 megabits down. So I was sitting in a parking lot down in the center of my town, and I decided to run, a speed test on my local, on the 4G, what I was hoping was 4G. So I turned Wi-Fi off, completely disconnected, ran it, and I was hitting like the same speeds. I was like, wow, this is incredible.
It is. No, it is. It's amazing. What's funny is, that overage charge that you're going to be getting at the end of the month from all of that testing that you're
I know,
doing,
right?
As
all
you blow through your data for the month. Yeah, no, it's truly amazing. It's amazing how quick LTE is, and I can see that in the very short, I'd say near foreseeable future, AT&T are just going to stop stringing lines These D slams, that are at the end of the block that have fiber coming into them, and then they send out the signal throughout the neighborhoods. I think those are just going to have Wi-Fi built into them, and they're going to Wi-Fi entire neighborhoods, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
The speeds are so quick that, you don't need all of this old school stuff. I mean, I remember way back in the day, I had an ISN line at the house, which is, what is it, pre DSL. ISDN was, God, like a quarter of what DSL is. So it's just amazing. Now stuff is wireless and it's going 5 times as fast as wired. So it's just pretty cool. So anyway,
and that's what's interesting about this Samsung, right? Because now you can take these photos, you can upload them to the cloud, you can store them locally, and from the sounds of the specs of the camera, right? So it's 16.3 megapixel. It has this BSI CMOS, which is, all I know is it's tiny as anything. I mean, it's like CMOS. 6.17 millimeters by 4.56 or something. It's like the size of your pinky nail. It's minuscule. But it's got a 1.4 gigahertz quad core processor in it. Right. So that's impressive. I mean, that can certainly allow, some software stuff happening on the back end to process these images.
Yeah, talking about software, since it is running Android Jelly Bean on this extremely fast quad core, what's really cool about that is, number one, obviously the screen is amazing. So let me start out with that. 4.8 inches.
That's huge.
And now what's even better, it's 308 PPI. I mean, that is high def.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, beyond Retina. I mean, that's like that's pure continuous tone at that point.
Exactly. I mean, it'd just be liquid. So that's number one. The next thing, of course, like I was saying, is since it's running this full Jelly Bean background operating system, what that means is you can run a ton of apps. I mean, it has, here just all kinds of, I mean, obviously we were talking about Dropbox. You can just load that straight up into the cloud, but also you have like browsing capabilities. You have camera apps that you can, run to do any different kind of processing, but in camera to change things up before you send them out. Just all kinds of stuff. So I could just imagine that, the number of apps that are going to come out is just going to be amazing. And a lot of the work you'll be able to do in camera to kind of manipulate photos, crop and change, and and just kind of enhance, so to speak, before you send them out to Facebook and wherever else through social media or whatever. I mean, I can imagine. Just think about, let's say you're covering the elections, let's say, and you are out there, and all of a sudden, the president flies in, and you're there taking these snapshots, but instead of them living on your camera. Or living on your phone and trying to send, phone images. Here you have like a high-end camera and you're sending these images right up to the cloud at like 5 meg per second,
Sure.
Just think about that. And video, just for like news reporters or maybe even local report, anyone. It's just amazing. And they give you 8 gigabytes on the camera itself, which is great, but you're going to be launching up into the cloud anyway, so who really cares? But as far as video goes, you got straight 1080p. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, that's real nice. And when you're shooting 720, you can bump that frame rate up to, 120 frames per second. So that's really nice if you want to do some slow-mo stuff too.
Yeah, good.
Which is really cool.
You could dump video down, 500% slower than actual speed. So
the overall camera sounds interesting. What kind of concerns me though is the data plans, because this has 4G LTE built into it. You need to have a data plan in order to take, to use these cloud storage, all these different types of upload options when you're outside of a Wi-Fi network.
Exactly.
And the AT&T mobile share, so it costs you $10 to share between 1 and 20 gigabytes of data.
Right.
That's if you have one of those share plans. Now, if you don't, then you need to get a regular data plan. And for 250 megs, it's like $15. 3 gigs, it's $30. And 5 gigs is $50.
So that is the exact data plan that AT&T offers to all smartphone users. The only difference between this data plan structure is that you can actually buy the phone without a data plan and use it through Wi-Fi if you'd like. Whereas if you bought a smartphone, they automatically require you to buy a data plan, period. You can't say, oh, I want to use the phone, but I want to use it through Wi-Fi only. No, sorry, we won't sell it to you.
Right.
So,
go buy an iPod.
yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, that's really the only difference. So is it something for everyone? No, but I tell you what, it is the ground floor. It's the beginning of the next generation, the next wave of camera, phone, camera, multiple device type of unit, which I don't even know what they're going to end up calling these things. So it's got some serious meat and potatoes behind it with Jelly Bean and with a quad core and having the ability to, install all kinds of apps on it. I can imagine within the first month, someone's going to root the device, and they're going to turn it into something else. Who knows what?
Yeah. No, but I think you're exactly right. This is the ground floor of this type of device. I mean, okay, yes, we've had cameras in phones now for a long time, and the cameras are getting better and better and better and better. But this is kind of taking it to a whole other level. I mean, it's got a 21 times optical zoom. I mean, the thing just shoots out the front of it to like 6 inches long or whatever. It's ridiculous.
With 16 megapixels. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I like it. Is it, like I said, is it something for everyone? No, it is $500.
Yep. So
they do have like a special going on right now. Whereas if you buy like a Galaxy S3 or a Note or one of the other Samsung phones, you get this like $100 off, $200 off, something like this. Just look at your local AT&T reseller. But it's kind of cool. It's definitely neat, and it's definitely something to look into. Another piece of the puzzle is this G15. We got some questions about the Canon PowerShot G15, but I tell you what, before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
So, all right. So what about this G15? I got a bunch of things come through on Twitter because there was a review that was done regarding the Canon PowerShot G15, which is the new version of the G12. The G line has always been very, very impressive on the Canon point and shoot side. And a lot of the questions after this review came up as, hey, is this something that someone that shoots a DSLR on a regular basis that will use, is this like a pro or pro-am type of camera? Interesting question.
I mean, is it a camera that a pro may want to use? Sure. Is it a professional grade camera? I would say probably not so much. Not that you can't do professional work. I mean, there's people doing professional work with cell phones and smartphones. So, I mean, sure, anything is possible, but typically it's not what you would think of as your professional grade camera that you're going to take around and, do weddings and events and, portraits and that with.
Right. I mean, if you're a pro and you want to carry this in your pocket, As a backup, I would say don't do that. Carry a second
not
body.
as a backup.
Yeah, carry a second body that's similar to the body that you're currently using as your main camera. So this way you can swap lenses, and that's number one. And number two, you'll be very, let's say, you will know the UI behind the camera on a moment's notice. So, a lot of people, they buy one camera as a main, and then they buy a backup that is not the camera that they use on a regular basis. And when they need to go to backup, they're like, oh my God, I'm lost,
Yeah.
Don't do that. Buy either the same camera or buy a similar camera as a backup. Now, the one thing with the G12, now it's a G15, which is a new model. The one thing that's really good about that, and kind of regarding this whole idea as a backup, the nice thing is we've always said in the past that, listen, a amateur camera usually doesn't have any dials on it. Usually everything is done with the UI in the back of the camera. The Pro-Am sometimes will come with one dial, and the Pro-Am and Pro will come with two dials. Usually 2 dials is what you would think of as a Pro. And why is that? The bottom line is it gives you the ability to make changes immediately on the fly with a toggle, with a switch, with a dial. So, in light of that, the G15 has that. It actually has the 2 dials at the top, and it also has a hot shoe, which is that's big. That's definitely
sure. Big. That's real big. I mean, that gives you the ability to run your flashes, to run your, your transmitters, your pocket wizards, your things like that off of it. So yes, this type of camera does give you a lot of creative control. I mean, it's a 12.1 megapixel camera. It does have a very small sensor though. It's a CMOS sensor, but this thing is tiny. It's like 7.44 millimeters by 5.58, tiny. I mean, an APS-C, just for reference, is like 25 by 16.5 millimeters or something like that. So, this is, again, very small, slightly larger than your pinky nail, maybe your 4th fingernail.
Right. No, it is definitely small, and that is probably one of the biggest downfalls for me with these type of cameras. And that's why, I've always suggested going with the large APS-C, even -H's, the wide, or with a full frame. My favorite is a full frame. I don't buy anything that's not full frame anymore, but that's just me. I'm anal. I love, bigger to me is better. We know that's not necessarily the case. Pixel quality is really the leader. Yeah. But with this, okay, so talking about pixel quality, I've seen some reviews on this compared to the Sony RX, 100. And now the RX 100 has a 1-inch sensor. This is much smaller than that sensor, but it is producing very, very good, either on par or even better than what the Sony is coming up with. And it's doing a ton more. You have a lot more control, and back to the creative control idea of it. Maybe this isn't going to be the best camera. It's not going to produce, let's say, the best images out there for the money, but for that money, it will definitely give you the greatest artistic control over your work. And I think that is probably paramount, because I tell you what, you can take a cheap camera and just hit it with this amazing, exceptional lighting, and you're going to produce really, very quality images. You can take a Canon 5D Mark III that you would say, oh, the thing shoots in near darkness. Well, give that a shot. Talk is cheap. You go and bring that up to 6400, shoot it without a flash, and see what you get. Right. I'm going to tell you that you're going to get better pictures with this point and shoot than with that 5D Mark III at 6400 if you shoot this with really good high quality light and you really understand the gear. And I think that's number one. I think that's probably the most important thing, is really knowing your gear, right?
Well, sure. I mean, you can take any photographer that has been doing this for a while. I mean, you see a lot of the big guys out there, the big names out there that are, shooting all this high-end equipment. They're sponsored, and they could have every gadget in the world at their disposal. And then they go and they do I'm going to do a series of iPhone photos, and the photos are amazing. They look fantastic. Well, it's not so much the camera at that point. It's the photographer. It's the creative eye. It's the creative controls, what they're doing in post, how they're tweaking the image and what have you. So yeah, I mean, you can make amazing images from anything. It's just what your need is as a photographer. And if your need is, I'm striving to be a professional, I'm an emerging pro, then yes, you need to invest in more professional equipment. If you're already a pro and you're looking for a pocket camera, but something that gives you really great creative freedom, if you see something that catches your eye and you're driving along, you want to pull over and take some shots, you don't feel like lugging the big DSLR around with you, then yeah, this is a great option. But then with that said, I mean, now Canon came out with the EOS M. We talked about that on the show a while back. And that is an impressive little camera too. I mean, it's a couple $100 more, but you can throw all of your EF lenses on it with an adapter. Exactly. So now you've got that other form of creative control. So if you're looking for a pocket camera, something you can click off, the lens retracts and you just stuff it in your pocket, yeah, the G15 is the way to go. But if you're looking for a compact body that gives you creative flexibility, I mean, the EOS M is also a nice way to go.
Yeah, so I mean, the EOS M is beautiful, and that's the one that I would recommend for sure. For a couple $100 more, take a look at that EOS M because it's mirrorless. You've the interchangeable lens capability, a much larger sensor.
Yeah, it's got a CMOS sensor. Yep,
CMOS, but larger. Right. So you're looking at probably 4 or 5 times the size of a sensor.
Yep.
But also, I mean, you could look at this, this G15 as let's look at it as a hero, as like the, one of these Hero Pros or something like that for video. Well, this would be for capturing images. What's nice about it too is you can connect a remote trigger to it. And now let's say, attach it to a pole or stick it someplace very out of the way, let's say during a wedding or whatnot, and you can sit there with a little remote, just fire the thing off. So you could use it for other things, and you could still, use it on a pro level, but as kind of B-roll, backup stuff.
Sure. The
same thing you would do with like we were talking about with the Hero. So it's that same type of unit. But if you want something better with a few $100 more, I would look at the EOS M. It's just a nice camera.
Yeah, I agree. And we're starting to see more and more of these mirrorless with big sensors coming out. Yeah. Prices are going to be dropping on them. Interchangeable lenses. I think for the experienced photographer, I think you're going to find them less likely to go out and buy these little compact point and shoots and moving more towards these mirrorless bodies.
Right.
For a few $100 more and utilizing their own lenses that they already have.
My dream camera is the Leica M9 camera, where you have a big fat, even bigger, like a big fat full frame, 36 by 24 millimeter sensor, very small and compact, still with a couple of dials in it that you can snap on lenses, with a viewfinder. That's it. Where is it? I don't know. Maybe I should make one. But that is my dream camera. I'm going to get on it. So I mean, that's my dream camera. Something that I can see myself one day being able to go to a venue and shoot, and know that I'm going to get the same type of images that I'll get with a 5D Mark III, and I don't have to end up with neck problems, back problems, and one forearm larger than the other. So, that's my dream camera. So I don't know.
Well, I think those days are coming though. I mean, we're watching right around this technology change, and bodies are getting smaller. Lenses are getting bigger, I mean, I think that's what it's going to be. Pretty soon you're just going to be walking around with a big lens in your hand and, your eye glued to the back of it.
Yeah.
Like a telescope.
Like a light show, right? Absolutely. Yeah, it could happen. You never know.
That's right.
Well, you were telling me the other day that you went to like a Chamber of Commerce event, right?
I did. Yeah. This was pretty cool, and I really wanted to share this experience with everybody, because I think it's definitely something worthwhile for everybody to look into.
photographers, of course, because that's who we're talking to, creatives.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, any type of business that you're in. So on past shows, we've talked about the Chamber of Commerce, getting involved with your local Chamber of Commerce, other business networking groups, and how beneficial they are. You know, they're fantastic networking opportunities. You know, we all say that, you know, really the best business that you get is often a referral, often a word of mouth, a recommendation, as opposed to getting a lot of phone calls from, you know, traditional advertising or from your website or what have you.
And that is also local.
Yeah, very local.
That's key. You know, going to the chamber and finding people is a big difference than trying to find them online, and they're all scattered all over the place. When you go to the chamber, you know that you're going to be hitting 100, 200, 800, 1,000 people maybe.
Yep.
And they're all local. They're all local businesses that you can work with. And, you know, that's key. I think that's, you know, the majority of the photographers out there, you know, with the advent of social media have concentrated so much on social media and connecting with people afar and have just completely, you know, lost sight. You know, they can't see the trees from the woods type of thing. You know, they've lost sight, you know, of the local possibilities. And that's really where the money is.
Well, it really is. I mean, there's so many people. So, you know, I go to this event and I really was not expecting much. You know, I figured a local event through the chamber was, you know, a few people going to show up and what have you. And I walked into this place and there was like 125 exhibitors, you know, at this. And it's a really nice like country club. It's a very upscale golf club. And, you know, they had the entire top floor of this place. They had like 3 buffet lines going with, you know, like roast beef and, you know, all kinds of, you know, meats and stuff like that. And
making me hungry.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. But they had a cash bar, of course. So I got a Coke and it cost me like $5.
Yeah.
It was a buck tip. It's it's ridiculous with that. But you know, the idea behind this is that, you know, you can go and meet these local businesses. And if your photography, your creative business is dealing B2B, business to business, it's a great opportunity for you to network with these other businesses. But aside from that, having a local business and attending these trade shows, these expos, really, can be very, very beneficial for you too, for actually picking up new business. So the idea of this expo was, it was local businesses that came together to basically sell their wares to the general public.
Right.
And, you know, there were like old people, young people, kids, you know, people of all ages in there, and all of the vendors were all different. You know,
so it wasn't just like a seminar or something where you just have only, you know, chamber members there. It's actually an expo where the chamber members set up, you know, their wares to hawk their wares, so to speak. And then the general public kind of filters in and kind of meets and greets everyone.
Right. That's exactly right. Now, where I live, and, you know, of course, many other people too, it seems like there's a lot of senior citizens and there's all kinds of services to cater to seniors.
Right.
And there was a lot of stuff. I would say probably, I don't know, 1/8 of the exhibitors there had something to do with senior livings, help, you know, assisted living, you know, that type of stuff. But nonetheless, I mean, you had banks there, you had accountants there, you had all kinds of businesses, septic pumping. I mean,
you know, that goes to what we have talked about in the past. You know, you show what you show, you have to tailor to the audience. By you going there and visiting this expo and seeing the demographic on who showed up, you know that if you were to do this event, and instead of you being the person that kind of wanders through, but you set up that table, you kind of know now what to expect and who you need to cater what you're offering to.
Well, that's absolutely right. Now, I say the general public is coming through there, and that's true. So if you're a wedding and event photographer, or if you're providing creative services that the general public would need, you know, you could tailor what you're presenting for those people.
Right.
But for me,
doing, the consulting, the web development, the graphic design, the photography, of course, I really am more of that B2B level. And there is a lot of business people that come to these events too, because they may be looking for a new accountant. They may be looking for a lawyer. They may be looking for other professional services. And this is a great opportunity for you to show them what you can do. And honestly, it was cheap. I mean, I looked through, this is kind of hindsight. I wish I had known about this a little earlier, but the table, like the booth area that you get, I mean, it's not big. It's like a 6-foot table. You get a cover on it. You bring your own graphics. If you want a backdrop, that's like a couple bucks more. They position you on the outer edges, so you can put up a backdrop, but it's like $325 for the night. I mean, that's nothing.
You get that type of table at an expo, let's say at the Javis or something, you're looking at like $5,000, all day long, for a 10 by 10. So yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, and like I've said in the past, B2B, I call it bread and butter because that's really where the money comes from. B2B business is, instead of the one-off type of, going and shooting like a portrait and, never seeing the person again. You do, let's say, some portrait work for, let's say, a bank, and, they're constantly, needing work or whatever it is. B2B is still where you're going to make your bread and butter for the most part, for the most, people out there shooting, especially now that more of like the wedding stuff is so competitive. Portrait is just so competitive. You really need to kind of niche it down, and, getting into a business, you can't beat that.
No, well, that's exactly right. I mean, there was a lot of banks there. There were real estate agents there. Yeah. I mean, real estate agents are turned over there like they're changing their underwear.
Time.
It's like, there's a new person coming into a group every day.
I do real estate, headshots for folks, every week I have them in the studio because they're coming in because they need new professional shots done. So and that is definitely, that is a good line for sure.
But think about it. Even, here's how you can broaden. All right, a landscaper, a professional landscaper that's doing, high-end retaining walls and gardens and things like that. Well, they're going to want some high-quality photography to show their work. All right, Absolutely. So they're perfect. Architects are going to want to show pictures of their buildings. Contractors, builders are going to want to show things that they're built. People doing renovations. Those are just a couple of the types of things that you could get in there to do the work for. And we always talk about having something else that you offer your customers in addition to your photography. If you are doing design work, for example, I mean, that is a great opportunity to possibly get in, maybe do some photography. Next thing you know, you're doing a brochure for them. Maybe you're doing their business cards. There's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, especially for the real estate folks. I mean, not only can you do their headshot, but then you say, listen, I'm going to go ahead and do your, cards for you, also your business cards. And then after that, all of a sudden they're like, well, I'm showing this new property that's, down the road.
Yeah, $1 million property.
Do you also do real estate shots? You're like, of course I do.
Of course.
So,
that's right.
But of course, are you kidding?
That's
so
right.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, once you're in, you're in. And what's really good too is the camaraderie. So, once you get to know the people that are in the chamber, they get to know you, and it becomes this nice mutual type of recommendation thing where, one will say, oh my God, I know this guy that builds websites. His name is Trevor. Yep. Let me get you his card. I know I have it here somewhere. And, this type of thing, you can't get, online. You do not build that, true relationships are built on a handshake.
Just face-to-face meetings,
face-to-face,
learning
just
your personality, and definitely. Yeah, I mean, there was a guy there that I know from our kids play soccer together, and he's got a local business, and he was there exhibiting, and I got to talking to him. I stopped by to say hi, and then before you know, I mean, he's a member, and he's introducing me to other members, and he's introducing me to the people who run the chamber, and then we're talking, and I went over just to say hi. I wound up spending a half hour, 45 minutes chatting with these people. And then, you know what? the subject of Twitter came up, and most of them had no idea. I mean, they knew of Twitter. They didn't know how it could be beneficial. So I wound up giving like a kind of a 10, 15 minute education
presentation
on using Twitter for business.
And you needed your iPad with you or something. You could do a PowerPoint or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, so this is how it can help you. And I'll send you over, a little proposal on Monday. So.
That's exactly right. I mean, they were blown away. And at the end of that, I'm thinking to myself, these people have no clue about social media. They know about how to use Facebook for personal, for friending, chatting with classmates, things like that. But they're not using it for business, not properly. They're not using Twitter for business, and
we say that all the time, right? We're like, we just think that everyone know, the same type of stuff that we know. And, the truth is the majority of what we do is bleeding edge, And,
it's not even cutting edge. I mean, we're squirting blood.
It's bleeding edge. I mean, you ask the general public what a podcast is, and they don't know what a podcast is. Recently it's starting to get a little bit better. You say, do you know what IPTV is? And they're like, IP what? Yep. The idea of even just simply what we do, the majority just don't. They just don't even know about it. They don't even know that it exists to even know that they want to see it or whatnot. So, that's what we fight all the time. But you being able to go to them and seeing them face to face and explaining to them what's what, they probably look at you like if you are some cyber god that just, came out of a machine or something.
Well, that's all about building yourself as that expert, and starting online, doing it online, extending your following. I mean, this gentleman that I was speaking with, he's a fan. He's a hobby photographer. He's got a 7D, a nice camera, and he knows how to use it. I've seen some of his images; they're great. But he's like a raving fan. He reads Current Photographer. He occasionally listens to the show. He's not a huge podcast listener, but occasionally he listens to the show. But the first thing he said to these people when we were talking to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, he's got like 17 or 18,000 followers." I mean, he even knew how many followers I had, faster than I did.
Exactly.
So I mean that is building yourself as that expert. I mean, there's so many opportunities. There's educational opportunities. Really, it just kind of goes on and on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's how some of the teaching things that I do have come about. I know. The last time I showed my work at a gallery, the reason they approached me to do a gallery showing is because they saw my work online.
Yep.
And, you need to be out there. But the thing is don't get caught up with continuously trying to make the better mousetrap be your website. Get out there and, trap those mice, but do it in person. You're just, the amount of time and effort that goes into just simply going to an event, going to the cash bar and getting a drink and then just talking to some people is not a lot. It's less time and less money than all the time and effort that you put in to all of your online presence. So, keep that in mind. It's really, really important,
You know what my icebreaker was to make small talk with these vendors? Because you got to look at it this way. I could not go in there as a spectator, go up to these exhibitors and start trying to sell them my services.
Right.
That's not what they're there for. They don't want to hear from me. They want to tell me about what they're selling. That's what they're paying for the booth for. I mean, that's why they're there. So, I would go up and chat with the people who offered services that I was genuinely interested in.
Right.
There's a new business that just opened who does kids parties. Well, of course, we have kids and, wow, this is a great idea. So I got to talking to her about that. And then I said to her, oh, are you a member of the chamber? I was thinking about joining. Oh, yeah, I'm a member. I just recently joined. Oh, well, what type of business do you do? And that was a great way for me to segue into what I do. And then,
absolutely.
You got a website. Oh, I'll have to go check it out. Yeah, I do web development. And, You know, and it doesn't, you know, become about you, of course. You keep it about them and what they're doing, but you have a nice conversation. You take their card, and then when you have the opportunity to meet at a chamber event, you say, "Oh yeah, we chatted at the expo. You know, you have the child play center, and oh yeah, it sounds like a great thing. We're gonna have to look at you for our kid's next birthday or whatever."
Exactly.
You continue that relationship. So, you know, my suggestion would be, if you're not already part of a business group, you need to join one. Your local chambers can be a great place to start. Just do a Google search. There's actually several websites out there that have a directory of Chamber of Commerce's broken out by state and by county. So I would definitely just Google Chamber of Commerce, look for your local one, contact them, get some information. And if you are part of a chamber already or some other type of business networking group, we'd really love to hear about your experiences with it. Have you found it beneficial? Have you utilized the services and the opportunities to their fullest? And have they really paid off for you?
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, we'd like to hear from everyone, so we kind of get a kind of a general consensus on what people are doing, what works, what doesn't work. I just, it could be either through Twitter or through the website, however. But yeah, we want to hear from you. The more we can hear from you, the more we can tailor and more we can share with everyone else what your experiences are with this. But yeah, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with getting in front of a crowd, meet the one-on-ones, do these type of things, and you can actually talk with people one-on-one. But eventually, what you want to be able to do is, give like a little speech, give like a little presentation, and be able to reach 300, 400, 500 people as they view you as an expert on whatever the subject is that the best.
I mean, that's not easy for everyone to do.
No, it's not.
To get up in front of people and to give a talk. I mean, a lot of creatives, it's just, we're creative behind the lens, behind the computer. We're not necessarily public speakers. And it's not easy to do. And your personality really you have to be a talker. Not a fast talker, not some slick dude who's trying to, sell you on something, but you need to be able to talk. I mean, you need to feel comfortable with people and just saying hi and introducing yourself and just let it go from there.
Yeah, get your elevator speech down so that if someone asks you what you do, you don't go, I shoot pictures and I take pictures of people and no. You need that locked down. You should be able to, in 15 seconds, tell someone exactly what you do best, and why they want to hire you or at least get in touch with you at the end of the conversation or the next day. So, get that down. If you don't know what an elevator pitch is, find out and start working on that. That is a very, very important piece that you can do, and do it right away. Get that 15-second speech on who you are and what you do and how you can help somebody down. And also, if you don't know how to talk with people, I mean, there's a lot of really great books out there on social engineering, how you can speak to people and get people just talking to them and just get them to ask you questions that you want them to ask you. Go over to Amazon. There's one that's really good. It's called The Art of Human Hacking. Really interesting.
Nice.
There's a lot of this, there's a lot of this where, I went to school, obviously, for photography, for graphic design, commercial art, worked at the ad agencies. But, my second, my side was in child psych. So, I have a psych major also that I've never used. But I just always found it fascinating on how you can communicate with people, deal with people, speak with them, and just in what you say or how you say it, you can make them ask you questions that you want to answer. And that's really, really important of what we're talking about here. Because like you're saying, you talked with the person and you didn't want to go and try to pitch them on something. You went in with, so what do you do? And allow and listen.
Right.
A lot of people, they don't understand that you need to listen. A lot of people don't know how to listen. So it's really important. And, the bottom line is get out there. We've said this in the past, get out from behind the computer and go meet and greet people. You're gonna make more money, more sales, more relationships, and those relationships will definitely build into bigger dollars than what you're going to get playing in Facebook and Twitter and playing in LinkedIn or something. So that's kind of the take on it. I think that we should kind of push, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those other pieces are important to the overall pie as well. But yes, the one-on-one, the networking, face-to-face, that's really critical. That's really critical. And, if you're in business and you want to succeed in business, sometimes you just need to do some things that are outside of your comfort zone. You need to get out there. You need to speak with people. You have to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be as successful as you could potentially be. Exactly. You may have the best skills, but if you don't have the business skills, that's something that you really need to work on. If you're serious about being a professional creative, then you just have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get your camera down, then you need to move into the business and social side of it. But
that's right.
The personal side. So, but anyways, I tell you what, we are running long as we always do. We need to get out of here, Trevor.
Yes, we do. So thanks everybody for taking your time and listening. We really appreciate it. You're helping the show grow. Every week we're getting more and more downloads. It's just amazing to me how fast and how large the show has been growing.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, really is. So, again, we would appreciate it if you like the show and you're subscribed in iTunes. We'd love for you to go over there, maybe write a little review for us. Let us know, what you think about the show and everything. Hopefully it's a nice 5-star. And if you're not subscribed and you're using an iPod or an iOS device, head on over to iTunes. You can subscribe to the video and audio shows right there. And we also have RSS feeds available for both. So if you're using a different type of device, that's not a problem. You can get the show that way. Absolutely. So Joe, if people want to learn more about you, they want to connect with you, they want to talk with you, ask you a question, what's the best way to reach you?
The easiest way is through Twitter. You can find me at Joseph Christina, and that is Christina without an H.
Yes, and you can reach me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
Excellent. All right, Trev. That is show 81 in the can. Amazing. We're getting up there. We're getting close to the 100 mark, huh?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do something special for that 100 show. What do you think?
I think
we'll do a big giveaway attached to it or something. We got some stuff laying around here.
Yeah, I'm going to give you away, I think. Trevor in a box.
Yeah.
So all right, bro. Great show as always. If you guys have any questions or topics that you'd like discussed in next week's show, send us a message through the website, digitalphotographycafe.com, or you can connect with us also on Twitter. That's at dphotocafe. Once again, if you're listening on the go, fear not. Everything that we've covered during this week's show can easily be found in our show notes. Once again, keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll talk to you next week.